Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now on this video, I'll be sharing with you how to create your timeline to your desire or what you want to create in your life. Now this video, I believe, can really be the missing link for so many people in creating an actualized practical plan to becoming the best version of yourself and really to living your dream life. Now, just to give a little bit of a backstory to this, I used to be somebody that thought that it was all about just the emotions and the feelings for creating what you want in your life. Now that is still a very important part of the process, but the missing key that I've come to learn is the power of taking action, the power of being rather than just thinking. So it's not just thinking, it's also being and doing. So this video can give you a game plan for how to go about getting and becoming the kind of person that you prefer to be, and understanding practical steps that you can take in order to make that happen. Because it's always a great idea to just think about what you want, feel the emotions, and take action, but how can we actually create that game plan? Now, this is something that was inspired from the book called The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, and in that book he has something that is called dreamlining. So think of dreamlining kind of in the same way that you might think about a timeline. Now, what we do is if we have a goal, and what I'd like to ask you to do is to think of the kind of person that you want to become, to think of a vision in your mind of what you would be doing. So maybe that's you doing your passion for a living, maybe that's you around certain type of people, having the freedom to do what you want more often, travel wherever you want to go. As you look at this vision that you have, what you can begin to do is ask yourself, how long would it take under my current belief systems for me to get to that goal or for me to become that person? Now you may find that that might take 5-6 months, it might take a year, it might take 2 or 3 years. Ask yourself the question, what is the timeline for getting to that goal? Now, as you ask yourself that question, you'll notice that you have a certain level of beliefs about how and quickly that can happen. Now there's two things you can do. You can either honor that belief system and create your timeline in that allotted space. So if you're like, it'll take me 3 years, then it'll take you 3 years. Now what you could do, and what I recommend you do, is to remove those limitations and to see, how could I do this in a quarter of the time or half the time? Is it possible, and can you start to think in that way? Because many times we put the old limitations in our mind based upon prior experience and just like a blind spot of how we think things will happen. So what you can then do is maybe you can stretch that back and see that you could do it in half the amount of time or whatever it is. But now what I'm going to ask you to do is to put that in a certain time spot. And when I explain it, I'm just going to give a year just so I have some basis for explaining this type of process. But what you can do is have a short time slot and a long time slot. So you could have a 6-month goal and a year goal, or a year goal and a 2-year goal, whatever it is. Have 2 different timelines, and what you can begin to do is see and visualize exactly what you would have to do to get to your preferred goal. So this could involve, and for me, it was looking at the kind of timeline that I prefer to have, or the kind of goal of who I want to become. And I looked at that and saw, well, what I want to be doing is I want to be speaking to a lot of people, I want to be traveling, I want to be sharing these ideas with people. And in order to get to that end goal, I realized that the thing that I'd have to do is create a ton of content, create a website, create products, create so many different type of categories in order to get to that time goal or that end goal. Now, the idea behind this is what you might find that you have is in 6 months or a year, you might have a goal of being able to make money as a painter or a writer, for example. Now, in order to get to that goal, what you can realize is to do it full time and to be passionate about it, to have the kind of lifestyle you want, you may start to have to, in part, that aspect into your daily life. So you might have to start to write every day. You'll realize that you must create a blog to share these ideas with other people. If you're a writer, you might realize that you're going, or a artist, you might realize that you have to get serious about an Instagram account or social media or some way of broadcasting your art to other people. What you can begin to do is to think about ways that would get you to that end goal and how you can be that in the present moment and take action every day to get that done. Now, the idea behind this is what you can then do is visualize different milestones that would come up within this process. So if it is, for example, you creating some type of book, and you're going to be a writer, what you can do is see that you're going to have to create a certain amount of content on a blog, that you could create that into an ebook, that you could then see and realize that you could guest post on other people's blogs. You could see that there's ways you can reach out to newspaper companies or to different magazines. There's so many different ways to go about this, but what this process allows you to do is to make it more practical and to really get yourself immersed into being in the moment. This is about taking massive action with a game plan, knowing that that game plan might change, but that as long as you're taking action in that timeline, you are giving energy towards that end result, but also taking action in the present moment. Now, I want to also suggest that you remove some of the limitations that you might have by becoming aware of the certain thought process you have, the certain beliefs you have, and to really develop a more relentless type attitude. Now, relentless just means that you realize that there really is no limitations other than the limitations that you set in your mind. So, whereas before you might think about reaching out to people you normally feel like not reaching out to because you're afraid to, what you can begin to do is learn how to push yourself to not feel rejected, or at least to not beat yourself up and get attached to that rejection, but realizing that you can be the cause and not the effect. Really developing more of a strong understanding of how you take action in a efficient action type way by having a game plan, letting that game plan change, but realizing that what you can do is allow yourself to take action within that 6-month period, and then to see what you'd have to do to take action within that year-long period. So the main basis of this video is understanding that you can create practical action-based timelines of who you'd have to become, of the things that you'd have to do every day, having micro goals but also having macro goals towards that whole year period. Now, another tip I'd like to give that can really just change everything for you is every day, the first thing in your day, do the 2 or 3 things that will give you the most leverage towards making those things happen. Just have 2 or 3 things a day that you need to do that you know that if you do those things, it can change everything in the macro. For me, I just got up and I'm creating 2 or 3 videos, I'm editing, I'm getting everything done first thing in the morning. And what you can learn to do is the same type of thing, because that's when you have the most type of energy, and you'll also feel so accomplished by the time you're done with it that the rest of the day just seems very easy. So with that being said, realize that you can take practical action towards your dreams. You can use dreamlining in the sense of having a micro goal, a macro goal, set out your timeline, change the beliefs as to who you'd have to be to have those things happen, develop a relentless type attitude towards getting that which you want to be, and understand that the more you take action, the more you are embodying the best version of yourself. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you have not already, and as always, I will see you guys on the next vid. Peace, much love, namaste. Alright, bye.